So apparently, the Democrats learned absolutely nothing from the 2024 elections. 2 days ago, they elected a DNC chair to run the Democratic committee. The guy's name is, I believe, is Martin, um, from Minnesota, and also the vice chair is the David Hogg, the anti-Second Amendment. But people on social media was actually mocking them, right? Because they are continue to engage in this wild behavior. I mean, there's one point in time that they couldn't figure out how to count votes, you know. So I was looking at that X with some people pointing out that again that Democrats have learned absolutely nothing from losing the White House and the Senate, for that matter. Um, there was an actually one moment that when former DNC chair Jamie Harrison announced the leadership election and had to cater to non-binary people to fill a certain gender quota. Yeah, I'm not making that up. It looks like one of those SNL skit. When I was watching him, it was a chaos there because there's people, activists on the crowd. They kept interrupting and a lot of things. But Matt Walls actually, you know, had good point in a lot of this thing. So let's watch him, and I'm gonna put the link on the description for Matt Walls YouTube. Here you go.
Definite prediction. Everything's subject to change at this point. But after what happened at the Democrat National Committee on Saturday, any reasonable person would agree that I'm on to something here. So, for background, on Saturday, Democrats met to select a new chair for the DNC, along with a slew of other roles, including vice chair. And one candidate for the job, her name is Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
I remember her. Yeah, she's the one that belched out. She belched out singing. A couple times actually when she had her turn to speak, she started singing. Yeah, that I thought that was kind of weird, but yeah,
Stole the show. Now,
she
on her
did.
website, Dr. Quintessa describes herself as a thought leader, in addition to being a scholar, a historian, and an entrepreneur. So she's like Socrates, Stephen
Huh.
Ambrose, Elon Musk,
All.
Albert Einstein rolled into one.
Oh wow.
And plus, she's a doctor on top of that. Now, granted, Dr. Quintessa is a doctor in the sense that Jill Biden is a doctor, which means that she's a doctor in the sense that she's not a doctor. She has some kind of educational degree or something, but
Okay.
she's not letting that slow her down. Her biography states that her goal in life is to, quote, continue to beat the drum of change. And as she made her case at the DNC on Saturday,
Yeah.
the good doctor did exactly that. So here, for example, is how Dr. Quintessa began her opening statement at the DNC. Now, to be clear, this is not some kind of sketch comedy show. This was broadcast on MSNBC to literally dozens of viewers who are eagerly looking forward to seeing how their party was going to move forward after their massive loss in the last election. And here's how it went. Watch.
We'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
Yeah. Well, I believe that. I mean, if the government's doing you wrong and you fight on, right? That's what the Second Amendment for. And that's the thing, though. Is the irony of that? I bet she's anti-gun. You know, anti Second Amendment. And I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm just saying I can guarantee it because it's just running for a DNC chair. So I think those are one of the qualifications to become a DNC chair is to, you know, the more you lean to the left is the better. And again, they never learn.
Thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
I just noticed the people on the stage openly laughing at her, which is kind of nice. So try to imagine what it must have been like watching that performance as a committed, true believer in the Democrat Party. You know, you're in some ballroom in Maryland. You're hoping to see some kind of new approach to win over voters who are clearly moving away from liberal politics.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the candidates to lead your party are treating the whole thing like karaoke night. And by the way, Dr. Quintessa didn't stop there. She kept on
Oh,
singing.
no, she did not.
She was singing through this whole thing. Okay, here she is again.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
Well, by the way, how many?
I bet he's gonna say how many pearls. That's it. If you look at if you go to the X and you know, you type in DNC chair funny thing. I put that in the search, and there is some gold gold post in that regarding those advice DNC chair. Here you go. So they elected Joseph Goebbels or David Hogg, same person as a vice chair of the DNC. Now that's funny. This is the best, brightest they have. That's even funnier. Look at him. There's almost like a Nazi salute. They call him a Nazi salute. Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. You're talking about like, you know, a beta male. It's an epitome of beta male. Beta! Let's go back to Matt Walsh.
Pearls, does that, like, how many oysters had to die to create the 56 pearl necklaces around her neck? But anyway, if you've ever wondered what it would be like to encounter a character in a musical, but in real life,
Yeah.
well, now we know. Just someone who sings rather than talking, and it's just as annoying and off-putting as you'd expect. But anyway, in the end,
It's awkward. You know, I mean, I just I don't like. I mean, you know, like movies like that. I mean, I don't mind the sound of music and all that, but that's about it. Anything about that, if when they're talking, and then all of a sudden they bust out singing, it's kind of. I mean, in the movies, okay, I guess, but in real life, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well.
I'm shocked to report and disappointed to report that Dr. Quintessa, the esteemed scholar, historian, entrepreneur, pop singer, did not receive a single vote
Nope.
in the DNC. Out of hundreds
Zero.
of voting members, not a single one decided that Dr. Quintessa should be the next chair of the party. There is apparently zero grassroots, genuine support for her candidacy whatsoever. She couldn't even get a friend to vote for her. She had precisely zero support. And you know what that means? It means that Quintessa is a shoo-in to be Democrats' next presidential nominee. After all, if Kamala Harris can do it, so can Quintessa.
So can
In
she.
today's Democrat Party, the fact that no one
She might be
actually wants to
brighter
vote
than
for her,
Kamala.
that nobody likes her, even though she's a strong, independent black woman, is far from a liability. It's an asset. So you might as well start printing the Dr. Quintessa Hathaway yard signs now. She's basically a lock to break the glass ceiling in 4
man.
years, or to be broken against the glass ceiling, as has happened to the last two women who ran. But at the same time, as history-making and inspiring as Dr. Quintessa is, she was just a small part of the show that the DNC put on this weekend. One by one,
Oh yeah,
Democrats
this
made
is
it
it.
very clear that they have learned
Absolutely
nothing from
nothing.
the last election. Not a single thing. Every speaker, without exception, was clearly obsessed with identity politics and in particular racial grievances. So here are a couple of speakers who...
Yeah, so before I go into that, when I say they learn absolutely nothing, I mean, if you're talking about, like, what's his face, this guy, David Hogg, right? I mean, he said some stupid things in the past. I mean, I'm trying to look over here, but he said something about that you don't need no gun. You know, he's like the anti-gun. I think he's one of the that kid out of that school shooting. I can't remember which one. But yeah, so that's and they voted for him for the vice chair, and they voted for this guy from Minnesota. So yeah, they learned zero. You know, if in a Democratic committee, I would pivot just like what do you call this? The common sense Democrats already switched. You know, I'm pretty sure they voted for Trump. You know, all those common sense and also classic liberals. You know. But anyway, I digress.
Repeatedly, begin their remarks by telling the crowd to be quiet because a black woman is speaking. Watch.
Hello, Democrats. Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
Good evening, Democrats. Look up here. 3 strong black women standing before you. 3 black women who, rather than just grabbing a chair, ran for chair.
So I don't know why they pointed out. I think the reason why she's sad, the one in the blue, the reason why she said that I am speaking is because of a lot of people interrupting or being loud. So I mean that makes sense. But again, it sounded like how Kamala would say, what she said, that I am speaking now, and then she giggles, man, crackles.
We are sick and tired of being the last one hired and the first one fired. We are sick and tired of the...
Yeah.
I might try a version of this at my next speech. Hey, everyone, shut up. There's a white man speaking up here. How dare you speak while a white man is addressing you?
I'm going to try that,
you
too.
Fool.
I'm going to try that on... ladies and gentlemen, stop. There's a brown guy, a Filipino guy speaking. See if I can get everyone to be quiet. Matt Walls actually had a movie that came out last year. It's called "Am I Racist?" I've seen a lot of clips about that, but I haven't seen the movie. But if you go to I think DailyWire.com, I think they would have them. But it's it's really good, based on those clips that I've seen.
I am a white man. Try it. I mean, that probably go over a little differently than it did
Oh,
at the
yeah, it
DNC,
would.
I'm guessing. But Democrats have marinated in racial politics for so long in every aspect of their lives that they didn't see any problem
tiring.
with this. And if you go and pull up footage of the DNC's internal selection process back in 2017, after Trump's first election, you'll notice that it was not like this. Not exactly like it anyway. CNN covered the whole thing at the time, and it was a primetime event, and they were talking about their plans to impeach and investigate Trump and form a resistance. They talked about how motivated they were to come up with a coherent message for Americans. Watch.
Donald Trump has already done a number of things which legitimately raise the question of impeachment.
This energy is electric. January 20th was undeniably an important day, but January 20th and 21st and beyond was even more important because people are rising up and saying, Donald Trump, you do not stand for our values.
So I think it's really important that the Democratic Party focuses on an overarching message
Now, I don't
that's going
remember
to speak
this.
to all Americans.
I don't remember those because I don't think I paid attention to it. And the reason why I know the most recent one 2 days ago is because it was all over X. I think Fox News had a hit piece on that. Breitbart and all that is just kind of all over the place, and how they were mocked. I mean, it's stupid. It looked like it was SNL skit. It's laughable.
Now, the whole thing was obviously still deranged in its own way, but it was not like what we're seeing now. We're now seeing a party that has no idea how to be effective, no idea what it even wants to do.
Yeah.
A party in total disarray with no vision for the future whatsoever. So instead of coming up with
I think
anything
they have.
unified
Okay,
or
let me say this. I think they do have that vision into the future, but it's but it's not attainable. I mean, look at those candidates. You know, look at those candidates that they thought that there were the. I mean, there was like a guy in there, the first Afro something Latino or something like that. That I mean, he probably thought he was gonna win because he's the most victim kind of person or the most minority in that group. So they don't know. They have the vision, but it's not. I don't think they realize it's not attainable. That's what I'm just saying.
They're going completely off the deep end, and in fact, they're now reciting land acknowledgments.
Yeah.
Because of course they believe America sits on stolen land, and that's their winning message for the next election. The way that everything went in the last election, the way the culture is moving right now, has not dissuaded them. They're leaning into it, and here's how the DNC's voting meeting began.
Oh boy, yeah.
Ja, Transilo. Tkoje glini enisle. To look at you go tkozis yisnasha.
That Klingon?
Bitsi yishklizi bekeya. Na kosten will yegi ba here danidsin. Welcome. The Democratic National Committee wishes to acknowledge that we gather together to state our values on lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and the descendants of tribal nations who have been here since time immemorial.
I wonder what tribe he
We honor the
belongs.
communities native to this continent and recognize that our country was built on indigenous lands and hope.
Yeah.
Now, of course, as always with this kind of thing, I must always ask, which indigenous people did we allegedly steal the land from? The ones who most recently possessed it before white people showed up, or the ones that those indigenous people slaughtered and took it from, or the ones that those people slaughtered, and so on and so on.
Exactly. So that means
we never do get an answer.
With that, with that notion though, with that belief system that we have to give it back to whoever owns it first, and then we're gonna have to go probably way back to Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel. That's basically it, and it gets really messy and stupid. That's what it is. I mean, it's got the valid point.
To that question, no matter how many times I've asked it, all we're told is that the line of legitimate possession of the land stopped for some reason in about the 16th century.
Yeah.
The moment white people showed up, it was no longer legitimate to conquer the land and take possession of it. It was only legitimate to do that for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that Indians were doing it before Europeans landed.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah,
but, there's no time to dwell on that one bit of absurdity. The whole thing was a parade of absurdity that went on for hours.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just like not just in the United States, I think in other countries too. Because I'm from the Philippines, and I think I've heard that argument too, that those lands belongs to the natives, so to speak. And they're trying to grab them. They're trying to get it back. But it's just, just like my pastor said at one point in time, it's like, how are you going to get it back? How are you going to fight it off? How are you going to, it's just waste of time. Waste of time, and also it's waste of money and resources. Because you're going to have to, research it, who that land belonged to before those indigenous people, before some other tribes that belong to that. There's some, a lot of stuff from that going on there. But anyway.
So like this moment where the proceedings eventually came to an abrupt halt because one candidate identified as non-binary. That created some confusion because the DNC apparently has strict rules requiring gender balance among the party chairs who are elected. So what do you do when someone shows up and they are none of the genders?
Right.
When they don't fall into any of the, 95 invented genders at all, what do you do? Well, here they are trying to deal with that problem.
The rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week.
So they conferred about this question, and I'm sure they did confer about it. I mean, and if you're wondering why the Democrats, no Democrat can ever be an effective leader, why they cannot effectively lead the country, it's because this is what they're spending time on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're spending hours and hours conferring and caucusing and meeting, you know, to discuss what to do with their non-binary candidates. And watching that, you have to wonder what they would do at the DNC if they ended up with a candidate who belongs to one of the other 10 million genders out there. If one non-binary candidate, quote unquote, can throw the whole process out of whack like this, imagine what they do if they had a two-spirit running for office or a bi-gender candidate.
Oh, yeah.
If there's a gender-fluid demi-queer thrown into the
Oh,
mix,
man.
what do you do then? To avoid being transphobic, they probably just have to shut down the whole party at that point. And by the way, just for the record, of course, this is the, if you're wondering, this is the allegedly non-binary, quote-unquote, candidate they're talking about. He was running for vice chair. Watch.
My name is Troy Blackwell.
Oh, this.
I know that I'm a new face to many of you, but I'm a proud Afro-Latino from the South Bronx, New York.
Yeah.
I got into this work because at the age of 18, unfortunately, I was the victim of a hate crime. Today, I stand before you as one of the first non-binary candidates to run in the DNC's 177-year history. I'm proud to be the only Afro-Latino in this race. I'm asking you to take a chance on someone like me, a proud non-binary Afro.
Okay, so based on that, what's going on, I mean, this guy just checks all the boxes, right? Troy Blackwell, Afro-Latino, LGBTQ, whatever, non-binary or whatever, you know, a victim of a hate crime. I mean, check box, everything is in there, right? So he should get all the votes. I mean, based on that.
For Latino from the South Bronx.
The final tally of votes, Troy Blackwell, 0.
By the way, is he an Afro-Latino? He didn't mention it. I can't remember. Did he say that?
He did.
I'm watching it, I'm wondering, is that guy an Afro-Latino?
He did.
Oh, no, he did mention it.
Yeah.
46 times in the span of 30 seconds. Now, looking at that guy, you know, there are a lot of signs that seem to point towards a specific binary and that he's a member of one side of that binary, being the male side.
Yeah.
There's the facial hair, the voice, the build.
Yeah.
But then he opens his mouth and dispels all those assumptions. He tells us that he's one of the first non-binary candidates in the DNC's history.
Oh, wow.
0 votes.
0 votes.
Things went on like this for a while longer at the meeting. Take a look at this footage, for example, showing every single candidate for DNC chair, and each one of them is asked the same question, and you'll never believe how they answer it. Watch.
In this round, so I'm going to, I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Okay.
You got 2 hands. You got 2 hands up.
That's good. You all pass.
So when the moderator says you all passed, he's making a more revealing statement than he probably realized. The question was a test, and specifically it was a test of loyalty. He's trying to determine who's willing to affirm party orthodoxy, even in the face of clear evidence that the party orthodoxy is wrong. The vast majority of Americans understand that Kamala lost because she was a terrible candidate who played a key role in a terrible administration.
Yeah.
That's why she lost the popular vote
as
well as the election. But
true.
the Democratic Party of 2025, you're not allowed to criticize the party establishment, which Kamala Harris represents, or at least did.
Yeah.
And you're certainly not allowed to criticize a black woman for any reason. So this is what you're left with. And that's why the ultimate results of this DNC meeting were not surprising in the slightest. As the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. And that is why, in the end, David Hogg, the man who built a lucrative career on the bodies of his dead classmates, was elected vice chair of the DNC. Yes, David Hogg is now a major figure in the Democrat Party. And here's that big announcement, which, of course, is prefaced by a guy quoting the sage words of Beyonce.
You Democrats, in the words of Beyonce, America has a problem, but Democrats, we're about to fix it. God bless you. Thank you so much. Let's get to work. David Hogg.
Beta.
First of all, thank you, Chairman Harrison. Can we give a round of applause to Jamie? Thank you. Thank you. Who's ready to take the fight to the Republicans and win this thing? Are you guys ready to fight? It's been a long day, but guess what? We have a long road ahead. Let's go and kick some ass.
Now, there's an old adage about never interrupting your enemy when he's making a mistake. And in this case, the enemies of civilization are clearly making a massive and unforced error. So really, I probably shouldn't say anything here. But in this case, I can't resist, because even David Hogg himself has explained to Democrats why this is a terrible idea. So let's put this image on the screen. Here's what Hogg has written. Quote, "Like, I'm already one of the most politically toxic people in the country. Any politician doing anything with me is in effect committing political suicide." Close quote. And that about sums it up. And there's a reason that Hogg wrote that. I mean, he's on record making some of the dumbest and most politically
like I said earlier,
statements imaginable. Here's just a small collection of them, and there's, hundreds you could choose.
Yeah.
As you can see, David Hogg has written, quote, "Abolish ICE, defund the police. The NRA needs to be designated a terrorist organization." He also predicted Joe Biden would win the last election pretty confidently. These are ideas that Kamala Harris tried to run away from, and it still didn't work. And now Democrats are embracing all of it. And things get even worse when you look at the man who won the office of DNC chair. This is the guy that David Hogg will be advising as vice chair. It's a guy named Ken Martin, who currently leads Democrats in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything about Ken Martin, which nobody does, here's how he answered one very important question during this leadership contest. This is just about the simplest question and the easiest one he could have possibly been asked. And he managed to give the wrong answer. Here it is.
In October of 2024, a large part, about 1/3 of Trump's advertising budget, went specifically to this one ad. It was about gender-changing surgeries for a small number of transgender, incarcerated, undocumented immigrants. These particular ads ended with the line, "Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you." How should Democrats respond to this attack?
Our party has to live its values. Everyone has dignity. Our party believes that no matter where you're from, no matter where you live, no matter who you love or who you are, you have dignity, and we're going to fight for you. And that's what we're going to do as a Democratic Party.
What?
Now, a lot of polls, including Democrats' own internal polls, show that this kind of thing is what cost the Democrats the last election. And the DNC chair has just doubled down on it.
Oh, man.
Instead of saying, no, we shouldn't fund sex changes for illegal aliens, he gave pretty much the same response Kamala Harris gave. He has embraced what is perhaps the single least popular position in maybe political history. It'd be hard to think of one less popular than this. Funding sex changes for illegal aliens who are in prison is the kind of thing seemingly designed to piss off nearly every group and demographic in the country, save for the demographic of pink-haired people with septum piercings. Those are the only people you're appealing to.
Yeah,
with,
what is that, like a fraction?
A position like that. And as we found, there's not enough of those people to win a national election. Thank God. Meanwhile, his vice chair admits that the party's committing political suicide just by associating with him. And in the background, there's a chorus of non-binary men and angry BIPOC screaming about racism. That's the state of the Democrat Party in 2025. And the point here is not just to make fun of Democrats, although that's a big part of it, and it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can't
the real
really
point
help
is that
it.
The DNC clearly has not learned a single thing from their recent humiliating defeats.
They did not.
The Democrat Party is a bicycle with only one gear. This is it. Identity politics is just too deeply embedded in the core of the institution. It's all they know how to do. And that means that one of two outcomes is possible here going forward. Either the Democrats are headed towards a generation of irrelevance, or they will somehow successfully pull the culture back into the sort of fog of wokeness that we only recently seem to be emerging from. And watching what happened at the DNC this weekend, the latter option admittedly doesn't seem very likely at this point, but as long as these people are still running a major party in the U.S., we have to consider that possibility, as remote as it may be. And that's why, after laughing at these people and sharing as many of these clips as possible because they're objectively hilarious, we need to do everything we can to make sure that they never hold power again. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show.
Yeah, so based on that, like I said, if the Democrats are going to continue down that path, I don't know, for the next 10, 20 years, I mean, we're going to see a Republican president in the next, 12 years. What I'm saying is, J.D. Vance, President J.D. Vance sounds pretty good in 2028. All right, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later. When I find something, I'll share.